Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, my people. Welcome to another episode of C.E.A, show where the criminals and their agendas are exposed, because of course they are the enemy of the Americans and of the people in society that do what they can to make an honest life. And even if we came from a similar background as them, we have a basic understanding of what life is supposed to be like when we're not making bad choices. And that's what the meaning of the show is about, of course, because it's even better if you came from that specific path and you turned your life around, due to the fact that you can be a bridge and a medium of understanding for you to communicate with these people that still have to let go of that part of their lives. And that's basically what the theme of the show is about. And I want that to be of a light that spreads among the community and amongst the youth and amongst the people out here that seriously need it. Because only God can actually judge the hearts and the minds of the human beings. We only see the physical of it, and even though we can see some attributes of the human heart when they commit the actions and the atrocities that they commit, the truth is only God knows all. So with that being said, let's start the show up real quick and allow people here to see an eye view of what it is to be in the world of the criminal enemy agendas. So the story started with me returning back to New York City after being in Los Angeles for about a year and going through a lot of strong experiences and being in a city where I didn't quite know too many people in the beginning. So I just started from scratch and I did what I had to do. I had a beautiful experience, kind of hard in certain forms, but it was enough to turn me into the man that I am today, which is a very decent man, if I have to say so. And the story was that I was returning from Massachusetts to Staten Island, New York that day. And we had just got to Massachusetts from Los Angeles because I employed somebody to take my vehicles, which was the motorcycles that I bought in California, to New York City. Well, we stopped by Massachusetts first due to overcomplications of a situation. And me being a humble person, I was understanding. So at the end, I was practically left to take care of this remaining stuff on my own, which was the reason why I decided to ride a motorcycle from Boston, Massachusetts to Staten Island, New York. The road was about 6-7 hour long ride, and I had to stop by a couple of states, of course, to rack up on gas and get something to drink and have a little rest, of course. And by the grace of God, I made it to New York City. That was my first drive on a motorcycle interstate, and I've seen a lot of beauty throughout that path, and it was a wonderful day, of course. And when I got back to New York City, the first borough that I got to was the Bronx. And I drove down on the highway to Manhattan. Then I got to New Jersey and then Staten Island. You could go to Brooklyn from Manhattan and then take the Verrazano to Staten Island, New York City. Well, I decided to cross over New Jersey because at that time I still haven't taken a motorcycle on the Verrazano Bridge. And since it's a very huge bridge, I was intimidated by the fact that I would ride on such a huge landscape that was built by men. And when I was a child, I was a little fearful of bridges. As an older man, I'm not, but being that I didn't even know the legalities behind it, and I had to fix some paperwork when it came to the motorcycle that I had because I just brought it back to New York for the first time, I was skeptical, which is the reason why I drove to New Jersey. And later on, I would find out that legally a motorcycle is not supposed to drive on the top level of the Verrazano Bridge because of the wind and because of the hazards that can occur when a motorcycle driver is driving on a bridge that long and that high up. So thank God, by the grace of God, that I made the more mature choice. And I got to Staten Island safely from Boston, New York, after driving for about 7-8 hours. It takes a shorter time than that in car, but I took the roads that avoid tolls, the highways that didn't have too much state police on them, due to the fact that I just wanted to get from point A to point B without any further complications. I wasn't doing something bad, so I didn't have much to worry about, but you just don't want to have any interference when you got to do something very important. I was supposed to go to the TV station that day, but I got here too late. And for whatever reason, the first place that I got to was practically by the midshore area of Staten Island, which is by New Jersey. Because the bridges from New Jersey to Staten Island are more like by Port Richmond, by the harbor area, South Avenue. You can take the Gatos Bridge, the Bayonne Bridge. So I ended up in a very familiar area, an area that I used to hang out a lot in when I was younger. And I was passing by Forest Avenue, and the first place that I stopped by was a barbershop. And the barbershop is owned by some people that I learned how to cut hair with. We were learning around the same time with Carlos, the barber that taught us all, you know. But we learned from experience for the most part. He taught us the basics, and then we took that and we were able to run with it. And some people opened up their own shops from that experience that I had, which is an inspiration for a person like me, because it shows you, like, I started where they started. Yeah, maybe they had some more resources some kind of way, but life is life, and we all have the same time in the day. And they opened up their own barbershop, and that was amazing for somebody like me to see, especially somebody that hasn't seen stuff like that throughout his whole life. You know, I've had certain instances where people have really became huge, and whenever I can see something like that, I can use that as a reflection to strive to be more in life. So the story is going in a basic way as of now. I just got to Staten Island, I got to Forest Avenue, stopped by the barbershop, people that I haven't seen in a long time. I told them the story. Hey, I was in LA for a long time. It was crazy out there. A lot of gang members and people that will just attack you just for suspecting that you might be a part of another cult or gang, as they say. And I saw a barber that was recently freed from, I believe, upstate. And this barber that I seen that was recently freed from prison, I seen him on the Staten Island events a couple of years ago, and he went in for drug sales. And I was surprised because outside of, you know, that particular situation that interfered with his life, he was a decent person. You know, he went to work, took care of what he had to take care of, and you would never think that something like that was behind the screens of his life, but that's just how things work. And I've seen this guy because I know that the last time I seen him on the news, he was incarcerated for about 5 years because of some strong type of controlled substances that he was moving. That's what they said on the news in the article. And I seen him, and it's been so long, and it was like almost like a reflection for me to think and for me to analyze and say, wow, like, you see what somebody has to go through just because they're trying to make fast money. And I was happy for him. I was happy that he was out, and I told him that I, hope the best for him and to learn from that, to stay out of trouble and do his thing now. Your freedom is priceless. So whenever you can get your freedom back and make something of it, take that as a blessing, because it didn't have to happen like that. There's so many circumstances that can happen that can take you out of the game that you would almost be more than grateful to see how much of an impact that you escaped from a lot of circumstances that might have been designed to take you out by the devil, of course. And I'm speaking to this barber because it's been a long time, like, again, just catching up, saying, I'm glad you're all right. He said he wanted to ride my bike. I let him ride the bike. And then I seen this particular kid that I grew up with. I'm not going to say his name due to reasons that have to do with my values, which means, like, I wouldn't want somebody to put my name out there in all types of situations simply because the topic is juicy. But I can use this story as a medium to warn the youth and to warn people out here about the fast life and about allowing emotions and allowing these evil thoughts that we get from the devil to take over. And this kid used to be called by the name of Fuck, but I'll just leave it basic as a blank name. This kid that I haven't seen in a long time that people called by the name of Fuck. Nobody knows his government name like that because we didn't call him by the government name. The only people that really know that name is people that were closer to him at all, or that will be able to identify him in a picture. So those are the only people that say his name, his full name, people that are able to identify him by face or by picture or that know him like that. But this kid was a decent kid in the past. He wasn't really involved in a whole bunch of crazy things. And he even was so close to me as a friend that I've even allowed him to stay over because he had a problem with his family or something happened, that he got locked out or something like that. So he needed somewhere to crash one night. So I'm like, all right, bro, it's so good. You can crash over here. If I could give him food, I'll give him food. I remember he brought me some food from his culture. He was Pakistani. And I like that kind of food because I grew up with some people from that culture. People from all cultures, but I've tried that particular type of food. I think it's the roti with the yogurt and has like a lot of spices in it. It's really good. And even though I don't see eye to eye with all of their beliefs, I can still see a basic understanding of humanity there. And I treated him like a human being. Me and him were we were good friends, and he wasn't really known to be a troublemaker, to be a messed up person, or to go around doing a whole bunch of crazy things, especially not known for somebody who would go to jail. So I shared a good amount of my chapter in my youth with him as a friend and with people that were around at that time. We were teenagers. I was probably teenage, 18, 19, in my early 20s, all throughout those years. We hanged out and we were practically kids. We would sometimes smoke and drink and make jokes and, start talking about life and hang out on the streets and just do things that teenagers do. I knew his mom. His mom was a very beautiful person. And she had a lot to offer him as a mom. Not even in a materialistic way, but in the form where she was there for him. I remember she would actually go to the streets to look for him at times. And they would speak in Urdu, which is their language. That's how you specifically say that specific language with that particular accent. With an American accent, it'll probably sound more in English, but I'm saying it due to respect of that particular culture. Even if we don't see eye to eye with beliefs as a whole, they're still human beings. And people have told me in the past that I could resemble people from that particular culture, but it's only because of my skin color, because I'm brown and I have that tan type of complexion. But the reality is that a lot of people from all over the world have this particular type of complexion. It's the mixture that gives us this complexion. Is a part of the world that we come from. A lot of people in Asia, particularly around the equator, have sort of a brown tan skin color. And then if you look at South America or Central America, which is by the equator, you see the same thing. So the genetics that we have a lot to do with our environment as well. Even if our languages are different and our culture is different and our beliefs are too. But I'm saying this to say that he had all the tools to really live a great life. And even if we didn't have perfect lives, and we didn't have what the rich kids had, we still had a basic understanding of how to approach the future with some basic understanding of knowing what can bring us trouble and what can't. That's the reason why we weren't catching huge charges at that age. If we got stopped by the police, it was for a bag of weed, or it was for a bottle, a container that was open, but it wasn't for anything serious. So we had the consciousness as teenagers to know that, hey, there's a certain limit to what you can do. But sometimes people don't think like that, especially when they're in a position where they think that they could actually get away with it. And with that being said, the real story is going to unfold right now. Situations change and people find what they're going to do for the remaining of their lives or for a big portion of their lives. And I'm saying that because I want people out there to really understand that we make our own choices. And you make your own bed and you lay it. You can't really blame nobody else from that. You have to look at yourself and be accountable and be responsible for your choices in life. And you can't look to no other man. You can even look to God for that, because that's what you did. So we have to be accepting of the life that we live, and we have to be honest with ourselves and with the people that actually care about us, and be 100% with all the things that we want to do in our life, because not everything should be put on a broadcast, but at the same time, not all things should be taken lightly either. And sometimes you can put examples out there and you can tell stories and you can be honest and show people that, life is made up of so many variables, and it's like, it can all happen. It all goes down, and that's a part of the process. So basically, when I got back from LA to New York, he was the first person that I seen. I haven't seen nobody else yet. Then I seen the barber, but he was the first person that I seen, and I had no idea that at that time. I've heard some things before I went out of New York prior to that, like something about him like selling drugs and being raided. I heard something like that. I can't really verify that because I wasn't in his life at that time. So there was like signs of something like that on its way. But I didn't really know further detail of it because, again, I'm just not in contact with the person. I don't even got their phone number. That's how long it's been. It's been a very long time. So to put the long story short, around that time, he was on a lot of shit. He was involved in a lot of things, and I had no idea of that. And he wants to come and hang around me like it's all good when he's hot right now. And it's like, there's no reason to even, be quiet like that. Just do your own thing, And I understand it too, because it's not about just him being the only one or stuff like that happening because of chance. Like, a lot of times people set themselves up for a situation to even get to the escalation of that point. And what I'm saying is that throughout that time that I seen him, that first day that I got to Staten Island, New York, when I seen him, I got like a weird type of vibe off of him. Like, I felt like some demonic type of energy, some satanic type of lifestyle, and just of beliefs, and just how people can change and they don't resemble the same person that you once knew. He started off as a great person. She started off as an amazing person, as a beautiful human being. But because of experiences and because of lust for life and for power and having the ambition to make yourself better and succeed, is not bad. It's using that in the wrong way. And that's why I want people out here to understand that we can use this stuff in a destructive manner. So it's not always good. Sometimes it's better for people to not have much because it gets to their head, and then they start to do things and say things that are extremely not needed. And so I felt like there's a negative vibe there. I don't even know why I particularly decided to ride with my motorcycle when he was specifically on his motorcycle and ride those two bikes out on the street with the police in back of us. And I had no idea, because I just got here to New York from LA. First day here, dude is not being the same person that he was before. Stuff feels weird, but I'm still trying to be cool, because I'm just like, you would never think that this stuff was behind the scenes when I was there and I didn't do anything. Or yeah, he practically committed a homicide or murder, around that time. Prior to me getting to New York City and him being the first one that I see, I believe he did that weeks before. Well, at least 2 weeks or something like that before. And so that whole time, he was practically being watched. And he was also being investigated, right? So, the fact that he can even come around me and try to even think that we can hang out when he's going through some crazy stuff is rude. But I'm an understanding person. I forgive people, and I see that, at the end of the day, they're probably going through something much worse than what I'm going through right now. That might have bothered me, but what they're going through is worse. And we have to see that for how it is. And yeah, practically he was, I heard, selling drugs, and he was also involved in a shooting where there was a homicide. Yeah, so the firearm, that was basically illegal, because if he's not doing all these other things legal, he's not going to do that legal. And then, the substances, and somebody died, so it was a very complicated thing that he was going through, and he should have kept that away from me if he did. And after that day, I've never seen him again, because sometimes when you see somebody after a long time, you want to catch up. You're like, yo, that's my Jack, hit me up, on social media. But sometimes, that that's not the best thing to do, because just because they're a part of your past doesn't mean they belong in your future. And it's a great thing that I wasn't cool with him like that, and that I had no idea of what was actually happening, because it's actually documented. I did travel out of state, and I was out of here that whole time, and I wasn't in contact with him, because he knew that him approaching me with that type of stuff, I would have told him something. First of all, this is negative. And then second of all, I'm not going to risk my purpose and my life and my future for something that's in vain. That's what I feel. I'll do it for something that is honorable, but not for something stupid that I know is wrong. That's the kind of stuff that you do as a teenager. And then when you get older, you realize it's not the right thing, the right path to go. And then you just straighten up, and you walk in that path, that path that's meant for you, not just whatever path that somebody wants you to walk, because that's not their consequences. What you do, that's your consequences. We have to analyze that, but I hope the kid is all right, and I forgive him, and I want the best for this person. Hopefully they learn from this and they can move forward after the time, is served, which is a long time, and the future or tomorrow isn't promised for whoever, regardless. So we all have to be appreciative, and we all have to learn. Even if you don't do that kind of stuff, you can do something smaller than that, for example, like be lazy, for example, and that is still like, wrong, because you're wasting the potential that you have as a human being. We all have that. Don't say that you don't have no talent, because your talent might not be his talent or my talent, but it's still a talent that can be of a contribution in this world if only you worked on it. And it's something that you liked. And there's a lot of things to do in this world. So for somebody to say that they can't find something that they like to do, it just sounds impossible, And with that being said, I want people out there to really just be inspired, just like stay out of trouble, follow God, because the reality of the situation is that when I found God and when I started walking in that more righteous path, even if I'm a sinner, even if I have moments or if stuff happens, that's my beliefs. Like, we all sin in some type of way, and people can't front on me and they can't just be on camera and make me believe that, they have no faults, because we all do, and we're all human beings, and that's why we have to be understanding and forgiving. God, he doesn't sin like us. That's why he could judge us. And it's not a religious thing. It's something of the heart. It's something that's spiritual. It's something that has to do with life and with the purpose and with the meaning of why you're doing this. So for me, it's a deep thing. For some people, they just want to see the surface of it. And when they hear like people like me talking, they're like, yo, I don't even know what you're saying. All right, but that's because that's the way you want to live life. The way I want to live life is conscious and aware of what's happening out here, not just in these streets, but in the world, And it's a shame. It's a shame that I have to see people that I actually cared about as a friend and I wanted the best for, and I wanted them to have the best life ever, same as me, because I'm a real friend, just like, get involved in unfortunate events that just brought them down real hard, And it's a shame, because he should have been conscious of that, and I think he should have kind of stood away from me. I thought that I just got back to New York City. I just thought that I came back to hometown Staten Island. I just thought that I was going to get my stuff back together and move out of here again. But things turned towards a different direction, and I'm still going to do what I was originally planned to do. But from the time that I got here till now, it was just ridiculous, the things that have occurred. And stuff like this doesn't happen to everybody. For some reason, it's like God puts me in a position where I have to witness some of these things, and I have to see some of these things. And I talk to other people and they don't see it like I do. But that can possibly be because God has me out in the front lines. And I have to see this in order to understand it and to speak and to make music and to do what I gotta do, which is my purpose. And there's just no other way around it. Like, that's exactly what it is that I'm probably going through. I don't know everything, but that makes sense to me. And if it wasn't for the things that I've witnessed, I wouldn't have became who I became today, which is a person that is really thoughtful, and I'm very meaningful when I speak words. I don't try to sugarcoat stuff or try to make people hear simply what they want to hear. I stick to the script, to the scripture. I stick to the script. It was just extremely captivating. How when I first got back from New York City, from my vacation in the West Coast for like a year, the first person that I seen was an old friend. An old friend that I thought I was just gonna say what's up to, like an old pal. But it turned out that in fact at that time, he was involved in murder.